Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2021 Day 5 Connect Conference, brought to you by Huawei and IoT and Engine Stream partner, Software AG. Enjoy the next session.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session of the Connect conference. And today on the IoT stream, we're incredibly excited about partnering also with the IoT Council on this stream, tackling this incredibly complex conversation, of the whole IoT sector, trying to break it down, coming to grips with it. The whole IoT sector has gained a lot of attention in the last couple of years, and I think a lot of people are sort of struggling to make sense of it, in its current context. Where does it start? Where does it end? What fits inside this basket of this sector that we call the IoT industry? So we're fortunate today to have a phenomenal speaker with us, somebody that might be well known to most of you in the IoT industry. And it's a very big privilege for us today to welcome Pieter Pienaar, who is the chairman of the IoT Industry Council, with us today. So by way of introduction, Pieter is a phenomenal entrepreneur, as most of you will know. He's got an incredible network, which is hard to replicate, and this network stretches across several industries. He currently serves as founder and CEO of a company called Informed Decisions. And as I mentioned, he's also the chairman of the Internet of Things Industry Council, or the IoT Industry Council, as it's widely known. It's really a privilege to have somebody like Pieter here today, a thought leader in the tech industry, and here today to share his knowledge and his experience with this audience that have joined us today. And he has spoken globally on a variety of topics and tackles it from both the technical aspects as well as operationally in the tech industry, the wider tech industry. So great foresight into industry trends, and he's working incredibly hard to position Informed Decisions to become a viable competitor for the global standard in data aggregation solutions. But in his own words, he says that success in business does not revolve around a single person. And he believes that he needs to surround himself with talented and capable people. Welcome, Pieter. It's a great privilege for us to have you here with us. And and thank you for giving us some of your time and sharing some of your sector knowledge with us on this platform.
Thank you very much, Anita. It's a great pleasure to be here. And thank you very much for the nice introduction. It is very well done. Good afternoon or good morning, whichever it is, everybody. My name is Pieter Pienaar. I'm here today with a council hat on, and I'm going to talk to you about where the industry is going. So I think there's going to be a whole bunch of exciting speakers that will touch on different topics. But my goal today would be to just give you an overview as to who the council is, what we're doing, and where we see the market growing. To start off with, I'll touch base just really quickly on who the council is. So the Internet Council was founded by Roger Hislop in 2019. So it's a very young organization, and it is to bring the industry together. So the intent of the council is to create a space for people like ourselves, myself, and others to come together and share ideas and thoughts, and understand trends and understand the technology, where and what is happening in the field, and then be able to create value for our customers and our members. So we offer a holistic service as a council, as a non-profit organization, to companies and as well as government, to unlock the power of the Internet of Things, or Industry 4.0. And on such, we are working with a number of projects with government for smart cities, as well as we serve on the President's Industry 4.0 Council, where we are an active member. As a organization, we've got a couple of goals that we try to achieve, and I'm going to touch on only a couple of them. As a council, of course, thought leadership is important, because we need to be able to allow people in the organization or in the country and the industry to talk freely and not to be overly competitive when it comes to IoT as an emerging technology. We encourage people to learn from other people's mistakes, and we encourage people to learn from each other, and even collaborate on projects, because of how we see South Africa as large playing a role on the global stage. From a technology capabilities point of view, we always keep an eye on the latest technologies. We look at how it's applied, look globally. We investigate case studies, and I think today you'll see a couple of people or a couple of presentations that is case study based, that will talk around certain technologies deployed in certain areas. We keep an eye on the market movements, who's adopting, when they're adopting, what the process of adoption is, what future requirements we've got, and of course alignment with standards and international trends. And then probably one of the hottest topics these days is skills development. IoT as an industry will have a definite impact on skills, but we don't see it as being a loss of jobs. We see it as a skills transfer, where new skills will be acquired. Training sessions are being developed in conjunction with the council, and we're taking that through to the market, and also, of course, always aligning it with our global counterparts. So just quickly, what is IoT? I think everybody loves the buzzwords IoT, Industry 4.0, and so forth. And IoT and the Industry 4.0 is not new technologies. It's not something that has just been overnight been thought of. It's an evolution, or call it a step change, of older technologies that has been in the market before, where just newer and better ways, or easier and cheaper ways have been found to achieve the same type of goals. So in the Industry 4.0 space, which is the industrial application, this evolves from a SCADA PLC historian type of background, and which would have been run by national operating centers, has moved over into the new style of technologies where we've got artificial intelligence, and we have bots and et cetera, which then assist that market in being more efficient and more secure. IoT itself, or IoT more in the space that informed decisions and others play, stems from telemetry, where vehicle tracking was the leader of the space many years ago. But that started at that point, where we sent information via the internet to a cloud for the purpose of tracking vehicles. So the adoption or the addition of hundreds and hundreds of different sensor types via a wireless network, or via a network of some sorts, becomes available and has now transformed into what we call IoT. And once we have information, then all the other things become available, machine learning. So once we're able to trend out data that was previously not available, we are able to automate some functions that is generally referred to as machine learning. Artificial intelligence is where the world is going, and that will have a massive impact globally and in pretty much every sector of the world. And in IoT space, the artificial intelligence portion is in for forecasting. So if, for example, a action has been done multiple times within the same conditions, the artificial intelligence component can then forecast that the next time that something happens that's similar to that, machine learning can be activated automatically without having any human intervention. Of course, long-range wireless networks has replaced or has enhanced the original telemetry point or technologies, and that is where we're building from. So the difference between the old SCADA and the GPS, GSM type of technology, telemetry, is the basis of the new buzzword IoT and Industry 4.0. So where does all of this go? So I've taken a slide out of the IDC's annual guide. So who is adopting, where is it going, and so forth. So the next couple of slides will be talking around the percentages and the growth expectations and so forth. So in South Africa, this is just basically spent where money is spent, which is quite telling when it comes to the overall focus on where industries are playing. So this study shows that 15.7% is spent on connectivity, 13% on hardware, 15.5% on services, and then software 17.9%. So there's quite an even spread between all the facets of the technology, which is the hardware, gathering information, sending it into the cloud, making sense of the data, and then displaying the information to the customer. So it gives you it doesn't really matter where in the IoT value chain you wish to play. There is definitely going to be some impressive growth coming your way. So adoption in general. So this is another slide that I've sourced from Dr. Harry Teifel from Progressive Digital. That adoption generally in the IoT space has been lagging behind expectations. And there's a couple of reasons for that. But regardless of that, the technology is inevitable, the environment is inevitable. So the expectation that there is going to be a significant growth within the next couple of years is there, and we can definitely see adoption already picking up. There's already hundreds of thousands and hundreds of millions of devices globally that is connected in one way or another, and it's across a range of applications, which I'll go through in a little bit more detail in a little while. So what is the market? So just at a high level view, it's been in the initial stages of adoption, where the standards are still being defined. There's a couple of companies that has kicked off very, very quickly and have done a great work in laying the groundwork for the industry. But there's a lot more coming as time goes by, and it's a fairly low barrier to entry at this stage, which I think will become a little bit more in the future. Some key factors that is causing hesitancy more than actually adoption is that most of the technology is still brand new. I think the older technology or the older technologies are in the region of about 10 years old, maybe max, with the majority in the region of about 6 to 7 years. It is still more expensive than it should be. So there will always be a budget constraint. And because the technology is new, it is gathering information that is previously not available, which means it's not part of the general budget. And that means that there's always a budgeting process that needs to happen to get the new information to realize the actual value. So budget is always an issue. Companies also have a mixed maturity level. So some companies are already well advanced within their journey for digitization, but others are not. And the education process has been, well, up to now, by the rest of my life's work, is to educate people around what technology is capable of and what IoT technology is capable of and in everyday life. Of course, security concerns has been raised globally, but that has been largely countered. And then, of course, the people that just don't know what all the capabilities are and what the implications of the capabilities are within this new space. So where do we see the growth? So again, the IDC source says that the biggest growth is in manufacturing as a single environment, and that talks back to the SCADA systems. So SCADA is generally expensive. PLC systems are very expensive. Production management and so forth is generally run through those two. So companies are looking for ways to reduce the cost and get information in more efficiently. They're also deploying artificial intelligence more rapidly to assist in the efficiency of the production lines. Transportation fleet, I did a talk not too long ago around transportation, where asset tracking in transportation has gone completely from trying to find the vehicle after it's stolen to actually more in the fleet sense, where fleet and freight monitoring is more important than actually recovery after the fact. So transportation is a big area of growth within the field. Consumer, of course, smart homes. Everybody would like a smart home. Everybody wants to open their garage doors and switch on their irrigation systems. And also connected vehicles, where it gets a little bit fancier. We get to a point where there's connected vehicles and self-driving vehicles and so forth, which Industry 4.0 has always been pegged to be. And that, I think, is a link that back to 5G is, once we've got the connectivity, then we can have all of these fancy things with drones and so forth. But way before that, the internet can add, or Internet of Things can add a lot of additional value. Government, a lot of utilities, safety, et cetera, it's coming through from a government point of view. And then all the bits and pieces, agriculture, and animal, et cetera, comes from the rest, which is a high percentage of small fragmented parts of what the IDC reported. Now, to counter that, I've added in a couple of points where I actually physically, where we play, and in the council we talk about quite often. Agriculture is a rapid growing industry, and that is everything from weather to soil to water, fuel, vehicles, precision farming type of activities, asset tracking, as I mentioned, in the fleet space, utilities in the governmental space is massive, water, electricity, gas, and other services, water purification or water management or process management is also something that might fit into manufacturing, but at a lower level. So the water purification we're talking about is in-store type of preparation, where information is being able to be passed to the consumer as well. Building management, another PLC-based technology, is also being taken over by the new age wireless technologies, where lights are being able to be switched on and off, air conditioning systems, temperature, humidities, and so forth are being managed in a smarter way. And retail, of course, is also, utilities are always a big portion of the retail space, but we are also looking at companies or retail stores looking for the next level, which is efficiencies, helping lay out the store in a way that will suit ergonomics, etc., etc. So there's an exciting future in this inevitable space that will definitely affect everyday life. And my passion in IoT and in the council itself is that we have got so many people and companies in this country that is so good at what they do that we are very well poised to become one of the global leaders in this place. So to encourage companies to come to the forefront and showcase what they can do will definitely take the country to its rightful place as leader in the space, ahead of first world countries such as the US and Europe. And although we have all the building blocks, skills, of course, is the biggest concern. And in that space, the council has done a number of initiatives with government, with universities, with some of our members to create programs to assist students, people, companies in understanding the journey and getting re-skilled or re-educated to be able to play in this new space. I think there's a definite bright future for us when it comes to IoT. Thank you very much. I hope I covered all the points.
Thanks. Thank you, Pieter, and thank you. That was very informative. And I know that we're quite fortunate that we are in sectors that are growing, and that there's through the pandemic there's been so many sectors that have really struggled. But I wanted to just ask you a question. So, in your opinion, we always talk about government also being an enabler of our economies. Is there something specific that you think that government can do, particularly for the IoT sector, to create this enabling environment, so that you can really tap into the potential of this economy?
I think government is a key role player when it comes to IoT. So because budget and uncertainty is inhibiting the growth of IoT, generally, government is where it should start, and government is especially in the skills development area. But it's the president has started and has opened up their own commission, which we are part of, to see the impact of IoT and Industry 4.0 on South Africa for that as a whole. And as part of that, we are engaged in a couple of initiatives that includes POCs running real life projects in real life municipalities to improve service delivery and improve the manageability of a municipality, which is a very important part of where government plays a role. And once that is proven, that will very quickly filter down into the smart home and the consumer space where they like to be, where they see this is going. And as soon as the infrastructure is put in place by government potentially, or by private entities, both government and general population will benefit from it.
And then the other thing that I want to ask you as well is a lot of people are very interested in having the IoT conversation, and you sort of touched on it. It's like all the cool buzzwords, and people want to talk about this, but then people also tend to think that the IoT or IoT, the concept of IoT is sort of very futuristic. In your opinion, what do you think are the timescales for countries, especially developing countries, maybe more, to see large-scale adoption of IoT devices and sensors?
I think it's very soon, and I think there's a clear answer to that. Is when IoT is advertised, it is always the drone and the self-driving cars and everything linked to 5G. But that is the SpaceX of the world. That's not IoT. IoT is your water meter at home. It is the making sure that your robot is working and the lights are on in the street. It's making sure that your geyser control is in there and it stops the leak in your house. Or if it's just a personal thing, and it is on an agricultural space, it's stopping you from having to get into your vehicle or sending a worker out to go switch on a piece of equipment that is 2 kilometers away from the base of operations. That is where IoT is going to really get foothold and allow people to do more with their time and reduce the mundane tasks, like somebody walking around with a clipboard writing numbers on a piece of paper. And those are the real life IoT examples that is going to take us into the next phase. And the next phase will be the self-driving cars and the drones flying to deliver pizza and all of those kind of things. But I think the large-scale adoption will be within the next 5 years, and the rest will come. But efficiency, reducing risk, reducing cost is the key driver of what IoT technology should be providing.
And then, do you think, just in closing as a final question, from an adoption point of view, do you think that it's going to be mainly business that look at asset tracking, container tracking, that sort of thing? Or do you think that government is ready and that government understands the benefit? And then, of course, the big question that everybody always asks is, do you think government can raise the funding to effectively invest in some of these service delivery devices that could make it so easy, or sensors that could make it so much more efficient for all of us?
So I think if it's done the right way, and the way that we're proposing it at the moment is that if we do it the right way, if the blueprint for smart city, for instance, is deployed in the correct manner, government will jump at it, because it creates budget for them. It will give them more money that they are able to spend on service delivery. It will release, and it will increase satisfaction, citizen satisfaction. It will solve a whole bunch of their problems, which then is a no-brainer for them to adopt. Where the challenges that will come in is the absolute number of different solutions that is then pushed into the front door and say, well, I can do water, and I can do electricity, and I can do vehicle tracking for you. And the key is, if we can architecture this so that it is a common architecture, any technology can be used and deployed. So there's no one service provider. All the service providers can go into a municipality. And as long as the architecture supports the data flow into a point of single view, then that's where the value will start happening. That's when we can start putting algorithms on there. That's where we can start linking it to citizen apps, et cetera, et cetera. So I think government has taken the leap that it has to be done. The approach is more social than it is practical at this point in time, but the practical portions are also being looked at, and we are on the forefront when it comes to those.
I can't agree with you more. I think I find that our sectors are a little bit more organized. I remember a couple of years ago where we started talking about smart cities. It was also a buzzword. And unfortunately, I think the whole concept of smart cities got so distorted by, and I say this with respect, but by certain consultants, and eventually, and even vendors. And, eventually every guy that had a teaspoon was like, had found some way to introduce it into a smart city model, and I think that we got paralyzed by that, and government gets paralyzed by there's too much information, and or TMI, and everybody trying to have a piece of this instead of just finding the right and building it from the bottom up, and making sure that we get the foundations right, like you say, the architecture, and then there's space for everybody so that we don't paralyze the process and the systems by everybody lobbying and knocking at the door. But Pieter, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It was a phenomenal session. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you, and probably you kept it really simple as well, so that it's not too far over our heads, so I could keep up. But this is what these sessions are about: is to share knowledge, to get everybody onto the same page, to stimulate dialogue that on content that we can all agree on and drive the sector forward. So. Thank you very much for your time, to the IoT Council and to our partners and sponsors of this Connect conference. Have a great day.
Thank you very much for the invite. Have a good day. Thank you.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we trust you enjoyed the session. Thank you to all our sponsors and partners for helping us bring this event to you. Please click on the next link to join the following session.